They say clothes are a direct link to a person's soul. What happens if your clothes or your children's clothes fall into the hands of an enemy? This is the story of Ijeoma and Amara. Stay with me to discover the shocking truth. Amara, what have you done? Confess now so that this baby would come down. If you don't confess, you and your baby will not leave this hospital alive. Confess the evil you have done. Speak up and admit your evil. Many years ago, there lived two close friends named Amara and Ijeoma. The two girls were inseparable. They went everywhere together, did everything together. Anywhere you see Amara, Ijeoma was just a few steps away. Because of the strong friendship between the two girls, even their parents became close. Amara and Ijeoma met in school after Ijeoma's family relocated to the village because her father, Mr. Chijioke, was posted to the local police station as the new DPO. And Ijeoma started attending the village secondary school. And since they met, the girls have been joined together tightly as close friends. Ijeoma was a natural heartstopper. She was beautiful and intelligent with a gorgeous, stunning figure that had many men queuing in her father's compound to ask for her hand in marriage. And immediately after the girls wrote their secondary school WAEC exam, Ijeoma got married to a wealthy businessman from the city named Harrison. Harrison set his eyes on Ijeoma on one occasion when the girls were returning from the market, and she quickly went to her father's compound and asked for her hand in marriage, and that was how he took her to the city. When Ijeoma got married and she left the village, Amara was sad. Ijeoma was her only friend, and they already had plans for going to the university together before the suitor came across her. But what could she do? She couldn't stop her best friend from getting married because of her own selfish reasons. So with pain in Amara's heart, she waved her best friend goodbye as her husband Harrison drove her away in his luxurious black SUV.
A few months after Ijeoma got married, her father, Mr. Chijioke, was posted to another state far from the village. That was how Amara lost contact with her best friend Ijeoma. But life had to go on. Amara wrote JAMB and entered into the university to study marketing, just as she had planned with Ijeoma. Years later, Amara graduated from the university and met a handsome man named Ekene, and they got married after a few months of dating. Amara and Ekene started a small bread business from their tiny one-room apartment. The couple supplied bread to
markets and shops with their push and start 1995 model Audi car, which they had to beg their neighbors to help them push it before it could start. They did the business for years and they were able to raise money to open a small neighborhood bakery. And after many years of hard work and determination, their business flourished and they became rich with many bakeries and many staff working for them. Ekene and Amara had two beautiful children, Alex and Jessica, who were the joy and pride of their lives. One day, Amara went to the market to supervise her new workers who were in charge of supplying bread to traders. As she walked through the busy market, her eyes fell on a familiar figure. It was a poor, dirty pure water seller who looked so much like her old friend. Amara stared at the woman in shock.
"It's impossible. This can't be Ijeoma. She married a rich man years ago," she muttered under her breath. Yet she couldn't move from where she stood. Curiosity held her captive and slowly pushed her toward the woman. Amara walked closer to the pure water seller and gently tapped her on the shoulder to get her attention. When the woman turned around, Amara almost fainted from shock. It was truly Ijeoma standing right in front of her. Without thinking twice, Amara screamed and quickly rushed to her long-lost friend. She hugged her tightly in excitement, full of joy. "Ijeoma, is this you?" she shouted in shock and disbelief. She took her friend to a corner and held her hands tightly. "Ijeoma, what are you doing here? What is going on? Where is your husband?" Amara asked her friend in a low-toned voice. She had many questions running in her mind. Ijeoma was the last person Amara expected to see selling pure water in the market. Amara lowered her head in shame and sadness. Amara kept asking her to talk and explain what happened. Then Ijeoma finally spoke. Amara, life has not been easy, my friend.
5 years after Harrison and I got married, problems started.
My husband took a bad loan and it destroyed his business. Before we knew it, everything collapsed. We started selling our properties one by one. My husband's family blamed me. They said I brought bad luck to him. They said since I married him, things became worse. Since then, we have been struggling to survive. When things became very hard and I could not feed my children anymore, I started selling pure water so they can at least have something to eat. Ijeoma's story touched Amara deeply. Tears ran down her face. "But what about your husband?" Amara asked softly. "My sister, my husband is not the same man anymore," Ijeoma replied with tears in her eyes. "Since his business failed, he drinks every day until he's drunk. I don't know what to do."
That day, Amara forgot about the work she came to do in the market. She took Ijeoma in her car and drove her to her house. When they arrived, Ijeoma was shocked. The house was very big and beautiful. The furniture was expensive and the sitting room looked rich and comfortable. She never expected that Amara and her family would become this wealthy. Her heart felt heavy. She remembered her past life when her husband was wealthy. She even felt a small jealousy growing inside her, but she kept quiet. Amara asked Ijeoma to sit on a big, soft sofa, and she gave her food and drinks and held her hand gently. "My friend, I'm sorry life has been so hard for you," Amara said, "but I am here now. As long as I am alive, you and your children will never go hungry again. You will not sell pure water anymore. I will give you money to start a good business. When my husband comes back, I will talk to him to help your husband get a job. Please don't lose hope." Amara reassured her friend with a bright smile on her face. That evening, Amara gave Ijeoma a check of 1 million naira. She also gave her food items, toiletries, and many things she would need. Then she drove her back to the slum where she lived. When Amara saw Ijeoma's house, her heart broke. The place was very bad. The children looked malnourished and sick. They were sitting on a dirty mattress on the floor. The small room they shared was not comfortable at all. Right there, Amara decided she would help her friend leave that place. Later that evening, when Ekene returned from work, Amara told him everything. She explained how she met her old friend in the market and how badly they were suffering. She begged her husband to use his connections to help Ijeoma's husband get a job, and Ekene hesitantly nodded his head in agreement. A few weeks later, Ijeoma came to Amara's house crying badly, like something terrible had happened. When Amara saw her friend, she became worried. "Ijeoma, what is it? What is the problem? Why are you crying?" "Amara, I'm finished though. I'm pregnant," Ijeoma replied. Amara burst into laughter. "Ah, Ijeoma, you scared me. I thought something bad had happened." "Amara, this is bad. You are rich, so you will not understand. I already have 3 children who I can barely feed. Now this happened." "Ijeoma, children are blessings from God. Why are you now crying like a secondary school girl that was impregnated by a secret boyfriend? My friend, chill up." "Amara, you won't understand. Where do I get money for baby things, baby clothes and diapers and other things? My business is just starting and is not stable yet. I can't afford these baby accessories. Amara, I'm scared." "That's why I'm here. I will help you through this pregnancy, and after you give birth, if you need anything, tell me, I will help you. And as for baby things and clothes, my children are still very young. The baby things I used for my children are still very clean and new because I didn't even use some of them. They are in the storage room just sitting there. You can take them. My children have also outgrown many baby clothes, and most of them are still new. You can have them all. I will help you buy the remaining things," Amara said with a smile on her face. "Amara, my friend, so you will do this for me? God will bless you bountifully. Come on, Ijeoma, we are like sisters." Amara went to her children's room and packed all her children's outgrown clothes, toys, and baby supplies.
She packaged everything neatly for the baby, and she called a cab to take her and the things home. And she gave Ijeoma a large sum of money to accompany the baby things. When Ijeoma got home that evening, she started searching through the clothes and supplies, and as she was arranging them, she couldn't help the jealousy in her heart that has now grown into envy and hatred for her friend Amara. Amara was living the life meant for her. She was more beautiful back then, and she married a rich man immediately after her secondary school. Now, she was now begging for scraps from her friend's table. Ijeoma stared at the baby clothes with anger on her face. How dare Amara give her used baby clothes? Was she trying to show that she was better than her? Did she think her unborn child was meant to wear bend-down select, second-hand clothes from her children? Was she trying to prove that she was richer and more important?
Ijeoma was filled with deep anger.
The anger came from inside her. That night, she could not sleep. She kept thinking about it again and again. The more she thought about it, the more her anger and jealousy grew towards Amara. And as people say, jealousy can lead to evil. A few weeks after Amara gave her the children's clothes,
calamity struck. Strange things started happening in Amara's home. At first, it started at dreams, nightmares. Every night, Amara would see herself being chased by a dog. Ekene also complained about similar dreams, but they never thought anything to it. They thought it was just normal. But the storm was building up slowly. One night, Amara and Ekene were suddenly woken up by a loud and painful scream from their daughter, Jessica. Amara quickly jumped out of bed and ran to the children's room. She saw Jessica crying loudly and shaking in pain. Amara rushed to her and held her tightly. "Jessica, what is it? What is the matter? Talk to mommy." "Mommy, my leg! Mommy, my leg!" Jessica cried in pain. Amara quickly checked her daughter's leg to see if there was any injury, but she saw nothing. "Jessica, what happened to your leg?" Amara asked. "A dog bit my leg," Jessica said through tears. "It was chasing me. I fell down and it bit my leg." Amara looked at Ekene, who was standing beside her. Both of them were afraid and confused.
It was the same dream they had been having for weeks.
That night, Amara and Ekene quickly took their daughter to the hospital. When they arrived, the doctor ran many tests on Jessica to find out what was wrong, but after all the tests, they found nothing. The doctor said Jessica was in perfect health, but the pain in her leg was very serious. It was so bad that the little girl had to be given medicine to make her sleep so she could stay calm. Whenever the medicine wore off, the problem started again. Jessica would scream loudly and struggle in pain. Her cries could be heard all over the hospital. Amara and her family were confused and afraid. They did not know what to do. They took Jessica to other hospitals in the city to get another opinion, but every doctor said the same thing. Jessica was a healthy child. But even though the test results showed she was healthy, the pain she felt was very real. She was not fine at all. Jessica's life seemed to be slipping away before their eyes, and Amara and Ekene were not satisfied with what the doctors were saying. They took her to many private hospitals hoping for a better answer, but nothing could be done. By the end of the week, they had visited about 10 hospitals, and still there was no solution. Every day, Jessica became weaker. But the problem did not stop there. A few days later, Amara received a disturbing call from Alex's school. The teacher said Alex had been acting very strangely. He was biting his classmates like a dog and saying words that did not make sense. The teachers did not know what to do, so they locked him inside an office until his parents arrived. Ekene quickly went to the school to pick him up. When he got there, it was chaos. Alex, who was normally a well-behaved child, had become aggressive. He even tried to bite his father and kept saying strange words Ekene could not understand. Alex was rushed to the hospital immediately, but after many tests, the doctor said the same thing. He was healthy. Once again, there was no explanation. They began visiting different hospitals again, but still no answer. Both children had to be given medicine to make them sleep and stay calm in the hospital. By this time, Amara was completely broken. She could not sleep or eat. She was confused and very afraid of what was happening. But the trouble was still not over. One night, Ekene received a call that his biggest bakery caught fire. All the machines and raw materials were burned to ashes. A few weeks later, their biggest customers who had worked with them for years suddenly stopped buying bread from them. They moved to their competitors without any warning. And as if that was not enough, more problems were still coming.
The bakery workers started quitting their jobs one by one, and in a few months, the bakery was on total lockdown, with no money coming in and a lot of money being spent on hospital bills. The couple's finances started to nosedive into oblivion, and their children had been in coma for months, barely surviving. One day, Mama Ekene came to visit her son. The situation in his home had become a serious concern to her. One evening, she called Ekene and his wife together and spoke to them. "I have been thinking," she said. "What is happening in this house is not ordinary. I have waited and watched, hoping things would get better, but instead they are getting worse. My son, it is time we handle this spiritually." "Mama, how?" Ekene asked sadly. "I don't know what to do anymore. We have been praying and fasting, but nothing has changed." "Mama, I am tired. I don't want to lose my children," Ekene said, crying as he held his wife Amara, who was also crying beside him. "My son, don't worry. God is in control. You will not lose your children. Let us hand this battle over to God. Tomorrow, I will invite my pastor to come and pray for the children. I believe things will turn around," Mama Ekene said with faith. The next day, Reverend Matthew went with Mama Ekene to the hospital to pray for the sick children. When he entered the private ward where they were admitted, he shook his head and said, "The enemy has done this, but God is still in control. This is a time for spiritual warfare." That day, the Reverend prayed deeply for the children. He laid hands on them and anointed them. Before leaving, he gave Ekene and Amara some Bible verses and instructed them to pray with them every day at 12 noon and 12 midnight for 14 days. He told them to pray earnestly, as if their lives depended on it. He assured them that God would fight their battles and give them victory. He also warned them not to be afraid when God exposes the enemy. Instead, they should forgive and allow God to avenge them and their family. That night, Ekene and Amara knelt down and began to pray. They prayed and cried as they read the scriptures the Reverend had given them. Amara, who had once been a careless Sunday Christian, suddenly became a strong prayer warrior. She could pray for hours without stopping. The couple fasted and prayed faithfully for 14 days. By the 7th day, they began to see small improvements in their children's health. By the 14th day, the children were stable and no longer needed sedatives. I know you might be wondering about Ijeoma. Well, she was now heavily pregnant. Her business that Amara gave her money to start started buzzing with customers that were tripping into her shop left, right, center. Things were going well for Ijeoma and her family, but the shocking part was that she never visited her friend Amara in the hospital, not even once. In fact, she was secretly happy that Amara was facing difficulties. One day, Ijeoma went into labor and was rushed to the hospital. However, something went terribly wrong. The labor, which was supposed to last only a few hours, continued for days. 3 days passed, and Ijeoma still could not deliver her baby. She groaned and cried in severe pain, and her blood pressure rose dangerously high. The doctors warned that a cesarean operation was too risky. They said that if they tried to operate, both mother and baby might not survive. The only option was for her to deliver naturally. But it seemed as if some invisible force was holding the child inside her womb. By the 5th day, Ijeoma had lost all her strength. Her life was slowly slipping away. Her husband, Harrison, became very worried and called Ijeoma's parents. They rushed to the hospital and were terrified by what they saw. They knew that if nothing changed, their daughter and her baby might not leave the hospital alive. Mr. Chijiokwe called his wife aside and whispered something to her. Then he left the hospital. Hours later, he returned with a grave and troubled look on his face.
He seemed even more afraid than before. He walked to his daughter's bedside and spoke to her in a low voice. "Ijeoma, what have you done? What sin have you committed against someone who meant well for you? Confess now so this baby can come out. If you do not confess, you and your baby may not survive." Fear filled Ijeoma's heart. With no other choice, she opened her mouth and confessed everything. She admitted that she took the baby clothes and supplies Amara had given her to a witch doctor. She said she wanted to teach Amara a lesson and asked the witch doctor to transfer some of Amara's good fortune to herself. "Ah, Ijeoma, this is wickedness," her father cried. "What did Amara ever do to you? She helped you with money to start a business, and her husband gave your husband a job. Why did you repay her with evil? Did you think there would be no consequences? Look at what has happened to you now." "Daddy, please forgive me," Ijeoma cried weakly. "Please help me. Call Amara. Help me beg her." Out of desperation, Harrison called Amara and told her that Ijeoma had been in labor for 5 days. Amara was shocked and frightened when she heard the news. Without wasting time, she rushed to the hospital to see her friend. When Amara arrived at the hospital ward, Ijeoma confessed all the wicked things she had done against Amara and her family. She begged Amara to forgive her. Amara stood there, frozen in shock. She could not speak. She had treated Ijeoma like a sister, yet Ijeoma had taken her children's clothes to harm them. For a moment, Amara felt anger rising in her heart. She wanted to curse Ijeoma and tell her to face the consequences of her actions. But then she remembered the reverent words that God would fight for them, expose the enemy, and bring justice. She realized there was no need for revenge. After several minutes of silence, Amara finally spoke. "Ijeoma, I forgive you." Then she walked out of the ward, out of the hospital, and out of Ijeoma's life forever. A few minutes after Amara left, the baby was finally delivered. The child was weak because of the long labor, and Ijeoma was almost at the point of death. That same day, Amara went home and told her husband everything Ijeoma had confessed. Ekene was shocked by the level of wickedness. Immediately, they blocked Ijeoma and her husband on every platform and cut off all contact with them. 2 months later, Alex and Jessica fully recovered and returned to school after spending many weeks in the hospital. Amara and Ekene slowly rebuilt their business. Although they had suffered great financial loss, they managed to win back most of their customers and their bakery business began to grow again. They were grateful that their children, whom they once feared would die, were now healthy, cheerful, and full of life again. Even though they had lost a lot of money, they believed they would recover. Above all, they thanked God for fighting for them and giving them victory. Meanwhile, Ijeoma was discharged after spending many weeks in the hospital. She and her husband had used up all their savings to pay medical bills. When she returned home, her business had collapsed. Her customers had moved to other shops during her absence. She had to start all over again. She deeply regretted her actions. Now, only God could help her and her family recover from the suffering they had brought upon themselves. Hi lovelies, what do you think about this story? What would you have done if you were Amara? The moral of this story is simple. If you do evil, you will reap evil. If you do good, you will reap good. Share your thoughts in the comment section below and tell me where you're watching from. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until I bring another interesting and powerful story your way, bye for now.